So I wake up this morning and I see a message, and it's Access Rattblood. Are you here, Rattblood?
And then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access.
I'm Access fucking Rattblood.
Access Rattblood, I see. All these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. I don't know what to do with
it. And then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access.
Are you here, Rattblood?
I'm Access fucking Rattblood.
Access Rattblood. Most abundant and successful king hero that we are all sitting with at this very moment. Are you willing to accept that as a truth? That you are a worthy man and that your penis is okay?
all these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. All these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now.
Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood?
Who the fuck is Access Rattblood?
I'm Access fucking Rattblood, bitch.
All these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. I don't know what to do about it.
I'm Access fucking Rattblood. I'm Access fucking Rattblood. Hello, friends and enemies of YouTube. It is the Axis. And we're going to take a look at witchcraft and various techniques utilized amongst many sects and private societies. And hopefully you get an insight to the workings of how, without summoning a demon, these things can be understood and can be applied. And as taboo as such things as mysticism, witchcraft, and sorcery, white or black magic, these are just approaches to being able to utilize resources within the construct and the underlying and even the symbolic transfer of will, desire, or potential outcome, and to assist in its manifestation. Just because something appears to be frightening doesn't mean that it is something to be afraid of. It's something to understand. It's something for you to wrap your mind around and grasp the fact that in all adversity, it is just formulas and equations, and the ability to apply your own formula and equation with effective means without outside interference, whether that be pro or con. And with that, let it sink in, and I'll play you a dark little ditty to get us in the mood for our endeavors into metaphysical magic.
And it is from this world of darkness which come the evil, destructive forces in man's nature.
Okay, we have a guest. It's our special friend, Charles Wise. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning.
How
How's
are things
everything?
going with you? Oh, I'm
I need-
well, thank you.
I sent you the email yesterday.
Yeah, I've got it, and I've got to transfer it to one of my machines and apply a program that can be delivered, and you will receive uh, a definitely useful tool for music. I did not go unnoticed. I did see that. It's a slow endeavor, Charles. I have several platforms that I work on and try and keep up with everything. And it gets a little time consuming, but don't think that I've forgot you by any means because you will have that information by today. Are you at home or are you out and about?
I'm out and about. I just left, actually.
Out and about. Charles, morning routine.
The sun is about to come over the horizon.
Uh-oh.
I was watching some videos about the eclipse. Some people got some really good footage and they got a good experience. I was disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting much more. But
That's
hey,
well, it's a kind of applied magic. You got some noise going on there, Charles, but it's an applied magic. What they did was they amped up the energy for expectation of this eclipse, and they kind of weaved a particular type spell amongst the masses to generate the energy that was building up and they added to it and kind of manipulated the event into something to be profoundly amazing. And then it passes. And the anticipation built up, and it was a mass release of energy. That's why sex magic is so effective, is because you're building up this energy, and then through lifeblood, that energy is released, and then it has an effect in your local environment or whatever it's focused at. But that's the same as someone that practices, let's say, Wicca, and they have an altar and they light candles and incense and they recite their incantation and they apply the energy to it. And they do a build up and a release. But it's after the ritual or the ceremony. You're making noise there, Charles.
oh, sorry.
That the effects of what they've done actually come to fruition. As with such things as an eclipse and what they've done with it, they were able to distract the masses from certain other events that were transpiring and taking place. And they did create an atmosphere of anticipation and a release. And now that it's over with, the most general populace is just going to forget the event and go on. But those who pay attention to such things know that there was some other profound things that was happening during this eclipse, and the effects of that have yet to manifest, which is no different than applied witchcraft in a sense. Whenever I'm sorry, Charles. Go ahead.
I was say, a lot of people don't understand the power of people like either chanting the same thing, it's sort of like enhancing the, sort of like turning up the volume on the song. And then if
Yeah,
people hold hands, it's like combining the powers.
yeah.
Powers
It
meaning
seems that. Go ahead, Charles. I'm sorry. You kind of got a bit of an audio problem, but I can work with you.
let me take the headphones off and see if I can fix that.
Anyhow, well, he's fixing that. In witchcraft.
How about now? Does it sound better?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I took
Yeah,
the headphones
much
off
better.
and just put it on speakerphone.
That is so much better. Thank you.
Yeah, these headphones are cheap. They're dollar store headphones. $10
Right.
headphones.
Well, I do appreciate the adjustment.
Hold on, let me mute.
You are coming through. But anyhow, as I was saying, the altar and the candles or the incense or the incantation are just focal points, such as they use the eclipse as a focal point. And as the witch or warlock, however it may be, places this energy into this physical object to amplify into this state of existence and reality, a place to amplify their wanted desire to manifest into reality or into existence the desired outcome. And I'm sure that on a larger scale, there were many societies and various sects and other cultish type people who were harnessing this energy and also amplifying their own intent with the build up to this eclipse. And then there was a release, such as after you get through with an incantation, and then you wait for the desired effect. And it may not happen immediately, but the more, like Charles said, the more people and energy that is focusing on an ideal to be manifested into this plane of existence is no different than using a focal point to direct that type of energy, influence it, or utilize it for a desired outcome. And this has been practiced throughout the ages through various cultures too. So you have to come to terms with the ideal that even prayer in a congregation is people agreeing on a desired outcome, and they're focusing on it and kind of manifesting that ideal. And it's not much different than the endeavors of someone in Wicca. Is they have a probably more profound understanding of the workings of this particular energy, how to direct it, how to harness it. And they do understand the implications that it has in this plane of existence. So, knowing that, I can almost say that in confidence, there is going to be a particular outcome from the buildup that they used in this eclipse. No different than the outcome of a endeavor into witchcraft, mysticism, or utilizing an event, an altar, and as far as candles, parchment, incantations, and as Charles said, mantras, they all kind of manifest the desired effect. But it doesn't happen instantaneously all the time. For the more instantaneous effect, you really have to deliver yourself into what you're doing 100%. And you have to focus on that particular energy with 100% of your being. Which, if you're going to endeavor into something, please, be aware that until you apply 100% of yourself, you're generally half-assing. People dabble. People tend to get stimulated by the thought of witches and warlocks and the mystics and what they can do. What they can do is just a type of applied knowledge. They have a knowledge of how energy and synchronicity and influence works. The church, they call it prayer, and they kind of depend on a supreme or divine being to deliver them the request that they want to manifest. Whereas once you understand how energy flows, how directed energy placed into a particular object, item, or amplified through works, and how that can create a more powerful manifestation of what you want to be the outcome. And on that, Charles, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak past you. Are you still with us? Well, don't know, but anyhow, I'll continue on. When I was starting my endeavors into mysticism, Wicca, I didn't too much gravitate towards the New Age ideal because it seemed to be a little more laid back, peaceful, and organically crunchy. But they did keep a nice atmosphere around them, especially whenever you would go to their homes and visit, or you would go to the coven and visit, or even some of the outlets that they had. Always had an energy to it. Always had a good feel. Always had a positive, revitalizing type of energy. And I could appreciate that, but when I first got into all this, that wasn't my objective. And I wanted a complete and total understanding. And it wasn't till many years later that I understood how the mechanics of mysticism, witchcraft, sorcery, how the mechanics of it can be applied and how the mechanics of it works within this realm, as well as the powers that be, I'm sure, are very, very aware of. And from my observations, this has been a utilized tool against those who are more unaware of what's transpiring and what is happening to them. And they're left, kind of in a defenseless state because of lack of knowledge. But then there's that dividing line, at what point do you turn this type of knowledge over to people? And I'm talking the mechanics of how mysticism works, Wicca, sorcery, because as a species, we tend to use it against each other. Somebody pisses somebody off, and suddenly they don't understand the mechanics and the laws of this particular plane of existence, and they start launching a campaign of projected energy that is amplified, and it has a seal of a desired outcome on it. They're probably doing more harm to themselves than they are anybody else. Until you understand how the nature of this actually works and the mechanics behind it, it could be detrimental to anyone who wields and uses it, especially against someone who's innocent or undeserving of whatever intent of malice proportion that you're going to try and inflict on them. And as with everything, it is a discipline. It is a craft. It is an art. And you can spend your whole life developing these skills and how to hone them and to understand as an individual what works best for you when it comes to applying these types of esoteric. We have Charles really okay. What's going on with you, Charles? Is your phone glitching? We'll just have to see how he works this situation out.
Oh.
Are you in the Twilight Zone, Charles? We thought we'd lost you to another dimension there, or you were just transmuting yourself into another state of being. And we lost him. Wow. He must be having difficulties with his reception. When he goes out and about, sometimes that happens. But anyhow, back to the applied state of focusing energies and projecting them through means of whether it's an object or a focal point, or even with just the mantra and the desired effect that you have with a mantra to come into manifestation. There are those that understand the mathematics behind the underpinning and the underlying reality or this plane of existence, and they're able to tap into it. Some of the more profound schools of esoteric have a comprehension of the applied mathematical state And that works with also geometry to give you an ideal. When you speak, there is a toroidal energy, and with that, there is a frequency and a vibration that comes through, and it generally has geometry written within it. And we can find this evident in the use of a speaker and sand on a vibrating surface. You know, you change the frequency, it changes the geometry in the sand, and that's no different than when you use your voice. You're creating a pattern, speech patterns that have sometimes a profound geometry to them. And even in your everyday existence, you become so ingrained in understanding that there is a dimensional mathematic proportion to most everything. And this becomes evident almost 24 hours a day in not only your sleeping or your extracurricular activities of energy, whether that be through some type of astral projection or extensive fasting. You know, these things help enhance. And with that, there comes a underlying current of mathematical flow that seems to be prevalent in most geometrical shapes of divine proportion. So there's a type of speech that you can apply that has this same vibration, the same frequency, and it creates a type of energy with an equation applied to it. And that's just kind of the I don't want to say rule, but it's kind of the constant of this plane of existence. And the underlying, unseen part of this constant is beyond the spectrum of our senses generally, unless you become more broadened in your ability to perceive exactly how this equation in mathematics applies itself. Are you back with us, Charles?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm on the bus though, but I'm listening. I had technical problems a second ago.
Well, I see now. I thought maybe you were, transdimensionally traveling from plane to plane.
No, I was in the store getting coffee and I hit the wrong button.
That's all right. We'll bear with you, Charles. We'll bear with you. It's kind of a relaxed morning, and I'm just kind of winging some concepts and trying to come across with a rational understanding of various taboos and various crafts and studies that some people endeavor in. Once you have an understanding that there are things at work beyond the visual perception or any of the other senses we have, and with this I found frequencies, and especially the vibration have a great and effective interaction with this plane of existence. and you can pull the underlying of the constant and what is not necessarily perceived or within our scale of senses and utilize this energy. And you can tap into it. And then you can start creating outcomes that are more beneficial, but still in harmony with the constant. And as you persistently use this, you will become more efficient at it and more effective in application and means. I wound up moving further away from the more rooted endeavors into witchcraft and not necessarily mysticism. I still study mysticism pretty heavy, and sorcery, to the realm of understanding how the mechanics of it work. You know, you can have someone who studies these things and try and explain to you how to use them, and they will tell you, about the colors of candles, or how to make a wand, or how to work with crystals and various semi-precious stones. And they don't explain to you the mechanics of it in the laws of physics, and even some beyond that to the playground of quantum physics and how that is applied. And they don't truly put 100% of themselves into the study, but more so into the practice. And they, as soon as they get some result, generally start consuming themselves with various implements of destructive natures, wands, like I said, or speaking boards, tarot cards, astrology, but they don't look at the mechanics. And the mechanics are neither good nor evil. It's the intent. And with the mechanics of it, you become very rational to the ideal that these are just tools that we're capable of using and capable of breaking down to simplify the understanding of how profound the equative or the mathematical means to all this seems to be prevalent. So to advance someone's state of perception beyond right and wrong and to the applied mechanics of it, you get a different take on things. And you understand that it is intent by an individual that actually creates the outcome. If it's a person wishing or manifesting or applying energy to a malice or malicious intent, then that's a reflection of the person using the information. And that's their application of it. It's a very reflective of who that being is and what they're truly about. And then you have those that use this particular set of tools, excuse me, for what they consider good works or, positive energies and positive outcomes. But either way, it's the same applied mechanics. It is the individual's intent. And the more that you understand the mechanics of how this all works, and the more that these applied mechanics are understood, then the intent of the user of these particular resources generally shows within their use of it. Maggot, we have Maggot in the chat. Good to see you this morning. She gets executed in July. Oh, sorry, I mean court. Yeah, I understand, Maggot. There are some of the more intricate workings of the judicial system, and they work with a particular type of magic. It's called influence, and it's done on a mass scale. And sometimes we run into those individuals who take this influence, this perceived state that they bought into, and abuse it and utilize it in a negative way. But that says more about the individual being than it does the overall arching mechanics that brought it to fruition. They're just little players in a larger game. And I found that the majority of them are eat up with their own ego and their own sense of self-righteous behavior, so they think. But in actuality, they are nothing more than slaves to a system that had been put in place by means of influence, manifestation, manipulation, and will. And the weak generally go along with whatever the powers that be upon them inflict, until you become an individualized being, until you go within yourself and become at peace with the being that you are. And then once you've studied the applied mechanics behind such things as witchcraft, sorcery, and you take this on as a endeavor, all encompassing 100% in, you're just a dabbler. Other than that, you probably have no business trying to understand or even utilize exactly how extensive all this can be. And it can be extensive. Excuse me. I've seen some pretty amazing things in my observations and my life experiences that were beyond the common limits of comprehension for most. And I wanted to understand. I wanted to be able to utilize this resource. And I found that at one point I dabbled, little of this, little of that, until I understood that the principle of it all is the same. And I stepped back and I looked at all the religions, the philosophies that I could, the esoteric schools, the mystery schools, and the hidden things that were behind that. And I became mature in my understanding that each and every one of these have something to offer within the scope and range of a studying or a practicing person that endeavors into the metaphysical. And I started pulling resources from each and every one of these particular, whether it be Christianity to Satanism to Hinduism, they all had something to offer, especially in the school of esoteric and the working with energy amplified to gather or create a result. And the effectiveness of this. And upon understanding this and utilizing it, I understood then by my workings and my understanding of how all these particular, whether it be religion or a congregation, a mass, especially I've seen that the Catholic Church is they utilize a lot of imagery and projection into objects. They seem to want to place energy into matter, and it has some type of desired effect for them, such as holy water, or something that is blessed, or even a certain piece of ground that they consider sacred or sanctified. It's all the same. It's all the same mechanic. The form and the function, such as a car. If you have a car and you learn how to drive it, then you're going to notice that most other vehicles operate on the exact same principle. Whether they're speeding or driving recklessly, or they're going through a bit of road rage, or whether they're just taking a peaceful drive across the countryside. The fact is, the mechanics of that vehicle are within the same bounds as any other vehicle, till you start working with certain fuels, which is what they're doing right now, with the electric car and the charging stations. They're changing the medium, but the mechanics are the same, such as diesel or premium. The mechanics are the same. It's just a variation of it, which is the same with, witchcraft, voodoo, sorcery. Same mechanic. It's like I said, the intent you put with it, and how much of yourself you're going to apply to it, and where you're harnessing the peak or zenith of that energy, and how it's released proficiently. And either by means of incantation or chanting mantras, the effect is only going to be as effective as the user, such as a car. You're either going to be proficient and productive with your vehicle, and you're going to keep the mechanics up on it once you get past the fact that these things need to be kept up, unless the system starts breaking down in itself. And you will either sit by the side of the road with a broken down, abandoned vehicle, or you will understand the mechanics of it, and you will continue on, whether it's benevolent or malevolent, you the individual. And I've been in both. I've used both spectrums of it, and I use the same mechanic in each hue and spectrum of my journeys into this and my understanding of it. But there is something to be said for residual rebound effects, what you give is what you get. Karma. And your endeavors can be less than fruitful if your intent is less than fruitful. And if you don't have an understanding of the intricacies of who you are as a being, the core, reaching into oneself with a sense of discovery, a sense of understanding your own nature. And that's an individual journey. And it can be aided by energies to kind of ease some of the truths about oneself. You know, with me, I understood that I have a very dark side to me, you know, and instead of fearing it or setting up some type of protocol not to ever have to deal with it, I chose to endeavor into it because it's a part of me and it's a part of self-discovery, as well as the positive, nurturing, and life-giving side of this spectrum. Some people, oh, so, okay, you'll be back with us here in just a moment. You can have the best intent and the best energies for an outcome, but if there is within you an undiscovered or a undealt with state of your being that could rear its head, it's almost like a recessive gene. When you're doing work that is in the field of esoterics, that recessive gene or undealt with side of you can actually seep through into your endeavors and you not be aware. So I say for anyone who is choosing to use any of these mechanics or tools, to know thyself. Go inside and understand your true nature, because you may not be as peaceful as you think you are if you're honest with yourself. And you may not be the image that you perceive yourself to be or personify, and you may find that it's just a mask. You know, you don't see how others see you through their eyes. You can only determine how you see yourself and how much you choose to know about yourself. And then such things as physical objects aren't so much needed anymore to create a desired outcome. You kind of grow past, though they're still useful tools and are still effective, the tarot cards, the candles, the incantations, and your mind stays in a state of comprehension that it's all equation. And the only real monstrous effect it's going to have on you is if you have a monster inside of you, and especially one that's undealt with. And it will come through. There's no real hiding from it, because you can't hide from yourself. No matter where you go, there you are. So I hope that that kind of summarizes and gives you a little insight on the fact that the mechanics of witchcraft, sorcery, voodoo, Wicca, the mechanics are all the same. It is the individual's intent and how powerful they can project that intent and how much awareness they have of their own being that will determine exactly how much of themselves they're going to put into that, whether it be 30% or 100%. And you will achieve results by the percentage of how much of yourself you put into that which you choose to amplify, project, or try and manifest. And I hope that helps clarify a little bit. I'm not going to necessarily go into teaching individual spells, or I'm not going to go into teaching you certain ways to tap into these energies that are extremely effective. But that path is yours, and that choice is yours, because the option is there. And the potential for being able to do things that just step outside of the norm and the common are available to you. And you will understand the nature of the mathematical equations to the inner workings and outer workings of your effectiveness. And with that, I'm going to reside back for a moment and play this song and see what's going on with Charles. Okay, let's get into environmental mechanics and how environmental energies, houses and modes and luminaries create an environment that can be tapped into, the resources can be utilized, and can amplify by house, mode, or position your intent, uh, which is a deeper understanding of the mechanics of this place and the energies that you find yourself under. At certain particular times, the vibration and the frequency becomes one of use to a practitioner. And they will tap into that environmental state, and it will amplify and enhance the intensity of the desired outcome. This has been known throughout many mystery schools and many schools of esoteric knowledge. Mostly observable through those who watch the heavens and the stars and the luminaries. They read them and their energies and the various cycles and modes that it takes on. And the best way that I can describe this is in the sense of music. Because we are within the fractal nature of this particular experience in this plane, within a realm of perceivable, interpretable information. And the same with a musical instrument. You have octaves, which are a complete change of frequency, a change of vibration, but the repetitive tone of a previously utilized duplicate of itself in whether you go higher in octave or lower in octave. There's modes, modulation, and scales, and it will determine whether you're going to project music that is danceable or aggressive or calming. And these modes in music are the same as the heavenly bodies, the luminaries, and the planetary positions. It gives off a type of music, a type of energy, a type of frequency, vibration. And those that are in tune, thus you being an instrument, a human instrument, will either play with the orchestrated heavenly bodies as a part of the symphony, or you're just a spectator in the audience and you're receiving the effects of the frequencies, energies, and vibrations that music is projecting, such as the heavenly bodies and the luminaries. Now, if the orchestra decides to take you to a crescendo, a build-up of sound, a build-up of frequencies and vibrations, and inside of you, you feel something as if it's almost adrenalizing you, and it reaches its peak, its zenith, its crescendo, and then there's almost a release, and you feel as if you have reached the plateau of that particular movement. And that's just one octave. or maybe 2 octaves that you're receiving. The heavenly bodies and the luminaries, they also play like a symphony. And they go as far as to play like a symphony out of your range of perceived sensory perception, beyond the visible, beyond the physical understanding of how these positions and modes of the luminaries and the heavenly bodies work. And it becomes a interpretation of the effects that it has on the body and how well you adjust to, work with, or comprehend those subtle and sometimes not so subtle energies. And that's exactly what they did to us here with this particular event that just happened, is they crescendoed the event. They peaked it, which is a type of influence, such as an orchestra or the heavenly bodies. It's all relative. It is all relative. The mechanics are the same. The outcome may vary. Your ability to comprehend the mechanics may vary, but they're the same nonetheless. It is intent, received information, transmuted and transmitted, that will determine the outcome. But back into tapping into these heavenly bodies and utilizing that energy, you got to know the you got to know the room, or you've got to understand your environment and how these subtle energies, and some of them not so subtle, have an effect on your environmental and local environment. And the part that you can play in it and utilize from it. There are times when there is a turbulence in the localized environment because of illuminary and heavenly influence. And you can watch this parodied within media. Media sends out a frequency and an energy to achieve a desired state or effect. And they tend to know their modes, houses, and they have some type of comprehension of utilizing these modes, houses, and cycles. Same with someone who's a good practitioner will know that the heavenly bodies, the illuminaries, also, like the media, carry this information. And it's distributed and can be read, not necessarily by the naked eye, but by the understanding of self and how energy affects you, which is just a system of mechanics. Some people are very highly affected and attuned to energies. Even the most subtle energies are very readable to them. It's not a foreign language. They understand it universally. Because when the heavenly bodies and the luminaries achieve a certain state, it surpasses language. It does not recognize language as a barrier or a tool of division. It speaks every language by its design. And it projects in a way that can be understood to those who can perceive it modes, houses, and energies, frequencies, and vibrations. And becoming in tune with this can amplify your works. And your works being that which you have endeavored to pull into this particular state of being, um, for the best description that I can give at the moment. And this is being utilized in other ways against the general populace. They say that millionaires don't ascribe to the zodiac and the houses and modes, but billionaires do. And that makes perfect sense. You know, once you understand these particular houses and modes, which also the churches and early endeavors into alchemy and hermetics was also a understanding of how this has an effect on your localized environment and the entire environment of this plane of existence. And they knew the signs and the seasons, and not necessarily in a physical sense, but in a sense of this day is a particular energy. This day is a particular frequency. Only because the energies that are being transmitted by the heavenly bodies and the luminaries. And if you've noticed, they have tried to interfere with the heavenly bodies, the luminaries, and the effect that they have on us by shielding them out. Thank you, Dom. Thank you. Always, you're welcome, Dom, to come up. I would appreciate you on panel at any time. Charles, if you come back, that's great. And I will continue on with this endeavor. They are creating a filter over us. I think Bill Gates went as far as to say, or one of the, or even the group of them, that they want to shield the sky because of climate change. When in actuality, we have entered a new mode. We are in a whole new house. And with this comes an amplification, a buildup of the orchestra, a buildup of energy that can be tapped into as a resource by those that know how to use it. Or it can be blocked by those who don't want us to be able to use it, that don't want us to be allowed that type of energy or even the awareness of it. And they pollute the sky visually. They declare climate change, global warming, and any type of other horrible name that they can throw at you to bring about your fear of potential, disaster or effects. Well, this place is taking care of itself for what I understand is millions of years, potentially. And anytime that there is an interference by the human species, it's probably not in your best interest. They are trying to keep you from either information, which the mature mind will eventually, in its endeavors, find. It's just the way this construct works. Seek and you will find. It will manifest itself because you place the energy into it that it will manifest. It's just the search. That's the journey. I don't truly, for myself, appreciate the interference with what they're doing to our sky and the manipulation of heavenly bodies and luminaries and the energies that they have to offer. I feel that their approach is to change the frequency, change the vibration, and to change the potential energy of the effects of being in a new house, a new mode. Um, it's a shame, you know. It's a shame what they're doing, but there's nothing I can do about the mass agenda that's being implemented by the powers that be, and that being whoever is spraying the skies to manipulate these frequencies, which, you know, was done in music when they changed the 4/32 into 4/40, and you lost a lot of resonance because music has power. Music is also a form of manifestation. It's a form of energy transmission. If it wasn't, then all the 80s headbangers would have been doing that apparently without stimulus. But they did. They had a stimulus. It was called music. And it changed the state of mind. You know, whether it be peaceful or aggressive, it has an effect. And they don't see that as being witchcraft or sorcery, but it is. There's legends in history about musical instruments having magical powers. Or was it the instrument, or was it the sound and the vibration, the tones and the frequencies that it was giving off that had the effect? The design of the tool was one thing, but the information field that it was giving off, that's a whole different thing. And that will only be as good as the master of that particular instrument, or someone who has a mastery understanding of how these energies work from the heavenly bodies, the luminaries, and the distorted layer of cover that they're injecting into the skies to manipulate and change that energy and that frequency to make it less able to be a workable type of energy. And like I said, World War II, you know, this was utilized and then redeveloped. And they seen the cause and effect of a pure tone as opposed to a decoherent tone or a distorted tone. And the desired effect was amplified through a pure tone. It had visible effects. And they couldn't allow that because it could interfere with their agenda. And now that we're into an age of more cerebral interactions, mental interactions, and knowing that energy utilized within the realms of influencing or manifesting or using a craft such as sorcery or witchcraft can be disruptive to their agenda and can be used as a tool for self-preservation, where they're trying to implement an ideal or a manifestation to you, and through you, you become despondent to that type of projected energy. And you start developing your own sense of understanding and ability to endeavor through these manipulations, through their intent not to allow you to find a sense of utilization to the maximum degree or 100%. It's just a matter of understanding the mechanics. You know, it's kind of interesting how the parody was brought up. You know, we don't start wood fires in our microwaves to cook our food. But if you set a microwave into motion and, you know, you took a tribal individual who had never been introduced to technology, it's going to be to them some type of sorcery, some type of magic. And he who wields it, you know, kind of wields the power. They see a box that can make things hot without building a fire in it. Well, that's beyond their perceivable scale of understanding. And as with certain frequencies and energies, it is so far past your ability to comprehend and utilize these that sometimes inner self-discovery and resetting protocols within yourself can reveal them. You are your own limit. You are your worst enemy, and you are your own resistance. And on that, I hope you take a kind of introspective view. And I'm going to have to get some refreshments because apparently my mouth has become abundantly dry. Must be in the air. And I will present you with a song. Okay, I'm back. I would like to discuss those that feel that they are above the effects of someone's intent, someone's projected energy, or even environmental energies. This is to my notion, a foolhardy take on one's delusional state that energies and environmental stimulation is not going to have an effect on them. When in actuality, I've done the research and I've endeavored so far into the research that anytime I've ever heard someone say that they're not able to be affected by localized environmental stimulation, whether it be energy or projected energy or even tonal frequency, they are. And I've subjected many a person to it as my studies went on. And noticed that even while they're sitting there saying that these things do not affect them, they're being affected. And I've documented this. And it's profound the level of ignorance that one will take on when they overcompensate for their ability to understand their own self and how they're affected and how these energies do, regardless of whether you want to understand the mechanics of it or not, have an effect. Um, I did a pretty extensive study on this for my personal understanding of it to see if these people who claim that they were above or beyond or unaffected by the transmission of energies, frequencies, and vibrations. And I found that even animals, as well as humans, and sometimes even inanimate objects, are affected regardless of the state that they think they're in. So they kind of fall victim to themselves in that state. And that's their own folly. And to the wise, they will not exploit it, but they will try and elaborate to the person that, yes, you are affected. And then to the other side of the track, that weakness can be exploited. So careful when you take this walk, especially into esoteric, that you don't overcompensate the cause and effect, and that you don't fall under the delusion that you are above and beyond that which your body will be affected by. And even the workings of the brain, the firing of synapses, the response, whether it be involuntary or voluntary, either way, there's an effect. And I also want to give a shout out to Zethetic Warrior and the Z Show for his performance and his guest in his show yesterday. He took quite the auspicious position, and he endeavored into medical research or metaphysical research with a guest, and I attended, and I thought it was a great delivery. I thought it was a good show. I thought it was a very excellent course of the 101s on how applied metaphysics work, and who's using them, and why they're using them, and the mass use of them, and how it affects them. So, all props to you, man. That was cool. Appreciate that. And if you get a chance to catch that, I will drop the link for that, because I think for someone who's going to venture into this arena or this field, might want to take a look at that, because I don't go so basic. I try not to go so 101. I cater to people who are generally had some exposure to metaphysics, energy work, and the effectiveness of environmental stimulation through energies and the transmission of stimulus through energies and vibrations and frequencies. So it's going to take me a second here. Bear with me. Definitely want to drop that link in the chat. And hopefully he brought to the table in this field a better understanding that it's not a taboo. It's just a mechanic. That's all it is. Such as quantum mechanics is a philosophy, and I call it a philosophy because there's only variables that have been proven. The whole state of it is still it's still a subjective and almost undetermined or unreadable and measurable state, unless you go into advanced geometry, particle study, and various ancient writings on this in some of the mystery schools and how it applies itself. And I feel that it's kind of like the staggering schools. You know, there are those that understand it, and there's those that are not privileged to this information by design. I'm going to pin that link here. I can overcome my devices. Here we go. Okay. Sorry for the dead air. I am only capable of doing so many things at once. But I'm working on it. Okay. And there you go. Link is pinned in the chat. Let's look a little more into environmental states of energy and the implications that they have, and the metaphysical ramifications that are evidently apparent within this. You take cellular technology, or even Wi-Fi technology, or other forms of transmission, and you start breaking it down, you understand that it is a particular frequency which has a particular stimulation to it. And when I say stimulation, I'm talking effect has on the body, even as far as the mind. And environmentally, we are hit with so many variables of information or frequency, vibration, applied energy, influence, projection, that your particular energy may get lost in the midst of the overwhelmingness and the overwhelming volume of frequencies and vibrations that we're subjected to. And there are many. It used to be a couple channels on the TV and your AM, FM radio, and various sources that were a little less commercial, such as your ham radio operators, and of course the military. They played such an incredible role in the development of what we're subjected to today. And to many who don't understand this technology and the implications that it has, is probably the same as earlier people who didn't understand the development of radio and how profound that was at the time. And this would have been beyond their comprehension. And I think that that's kind of where they're pushing the boundaries by not allowing us openly to understand fully the technologies that they're using until you do really heavy research. And then you start seeing the similarities. The coherence between unperceived influence, unperceived influential effects that have outcome by means of technology, and the exact same in the means of projecting energy and manifesting. Hey, good to see you in the chat. Wonderful to see you. That's another excellent show yesterday. Pamela's Mystical Musings. Pam, please put a link to that. That was awesome. He's a fellow connoisseur of not only technology, but he also goes into the esoteric. And yesterday her show was absolutely awesome. I give her definitely a full star across the board on it. Anyhow, what I was saying was there's not much difference in the means, modes, and methods of what they're using and what a practicing metaphysicist would use, whether it be any type of school of esoteric knowledge, from Satanism to voodoo to Enochian magic. It's all dealing with the transmission of these energies and these frequencies and vibrations to achieve a desired outcome. And to be in tune with the heavenly bodies and the constant of your environment brings on the ability to more amplify your endeavors. And that's being distorted. That's being skewed, and I definitely want to bring it to awareness. Like I said, they dampen the skies so that we aren't receiving the full energies of the planetary bodies, the luminaries, heavenly bodies, that stars, comets, and we don't get to utilize the full energy of such things. And they have definitely manipulated our localized environment with a saturation of various frequencies and vibrations that are not resourcefully useful, and they tend to skew and dampen the natural energies that are at our availability if they were not hidden behind a wall of distortion. And you can get past it. That's entirely up to the individual as to whether you want to take means to create either a safe spot that doesn't receive frequencies that are malice or decoherent, and you're not subjected to these, and you can utilize a type of natural resource and abundance of energies that is available through just the resonance of this plane of existence. And even with frequencies, there is a mathematics hidden within it. Waves, when they travel, are measured in various wavelengths, millimeters, hertz, and the distance between the vibration that you're being subjected to. Some of them are in fields of, electromagnetic um, energy, which they nodal point us out and utilize us as nodes and carrier waves. I feel that's intrusive. I feel that that's a utilization and an exploitation of our species and our ability to conduct ourselves, in this plane of existence. There's infrared, there's microwave, and even to the realm of light, to a laser, and the effects that amplified and intensified directed light can actually carve stone, burn metal. The profoundness of directed light intensified through spectrum has an incredible and immense power to it. And I imagine those who willed that knowledge and the ability to use it in the past probably seemed very powerful to people, or in other aspects, very useful individual who carried and wielded such a thing. Even acoustic technology and moving and creating a different state within an object through variables of vibration, sound. That's another form of what they would be calling magic, or someone having some type of understood power. No, it's written in the equations. It is measurable, it is duplicatable, and it is more of a, if there was an applied field, esoteric sciences, things that aren't commonly taught, that you would have to endeavor in a private or a smaller group, because this is not something that the masses are brought to be aware of, which makes them easily influenced, easily controlled, and easily manipulated, as we've seen with the last event that just happened. They implemented the crescendo, they got the desired effect, and then they immediately started blocking the sky out and dampening that flow of energy. Though Um, the day after was a wonderful day. Even that evening, you know, I started off a little unsure because of the energy they had put into it. But as with everything else that they amplified to a crescendo, it had no immediate effect unless you went blind or something of that nature by staring directly into it, or you were absolutely so superstitious and uneducated that you found yourself in a doomsday bunker somewhere, which isn't that far fetched. It did happen. There's there's people that had such a lack of information and knowledge about these situations that it became overwhelming for them. And I won't say that it didn't have profound energy to it. The energy was incredible, and it was a very staticky resonance that it was ever present until the event. But now, as for me, the spell has been woven, and the energy has been influenced, and I'm just observing to see the desired effect that they want to manifest and they want the outcome of, you know. And as a small pocket of those who have some comprehension of this, I imagine they lie in wait and anticipate some type of change to the environment, or some type of change into fellow beings in the species, and an overall change within the mode and modulation of individuals and how they interact with their localized environment. To the wise, that is what we sit and wait and watch and observe. To the masses, though, that was something that 2 days from now will be completely forgotten, and they're on to whatever new uh, concern, fear, or information feed that they can get. And I want to read this. April 8th. This is from Pamela's Mystical Musing. April 8th was blissful for me. I went outside, asked the energy to merge with mine. I had energy pouring. I've got a heart over that word. I can't see it, Pam. Through me, I'm assuring me all day. It is all in what we do with the energy. Yes, that is so true. That's what I was trying to explain. It's not the mechanics that you have to be concerned about. It's the individual's intent. But she did not buy into the fear, and I'm witness to that. She did not, nor did I. But it was a type of weaving of a spell, and I will put it that way because that's exactly how the mechanics of witchcraft work. There's a lot of applied and suggested information that helps to build to the crescendo of the experience of encountering someone that studies witchcraft or voodoo or Santeria or whatever, an interaction with them. They're almost orchestrating and creating a song, a magic spell, a state with a desired outcome. And it's as simple as tapping into the mechanics and the energy of your localized environment and your applied intent. And I'm going to give. Oh, we have another. Yeah, definitely, Pam. The masses definitely hypnotized by this and many other events. I can think of one that happened in New York that was just as profound as, actually more profound than this eclipse. But they did utilize that to bring about an incredible amount of change in society. And I'm sure that before this is over with, we will see the long-term effects of this particular spell binding that they've done, because I can recognize the mechanic. It's no different than things that I utilize. And with that, I'm going to give anyone a chance to come on stage before I shut this down, and we can do some interaction together. And if not, then I think I got my just due into understanding the mechanics behind, or at least to allow you insight that there are applied mechanics behind even the metaphysics. So I will step back for a moment, and the link is pinned in the chat. And we will endeavor into another piece of music, if you do not mind. Okay, children of the metaverse. This has been another Rattblood Radio, and I want to give a shout out to other platforms and other content creators that endeavor to persevere in an exchange of information. I'd like to thank everyone who showed up here, especially the chat. You guys help make this the endeavor and the event that at least brings enjoyment to this endeavor. Absolutely. And to those who may run across this in the future, may it assist you in some way. And if not, maybe next time. And on that, Axis is out.